I slammed the front door hard enough to shake the little wreath Eden and I had made last fall. My purse was on my shoulder, my keys were in my fist. My husband, Marcus, stood in the hallway behind me with his jaw tight and his work shirt still buttoned to the throat. "I need air," I said. "Do not follow me." Then I drove out of our driveway like a woman who had finally snapped. That was what Marcus was supposed to believe. The truth was, I only went 2 streets over. I parked beside a row of dark mailboxes, turned off my headlights, and sat there until my hands stopped shaking enough to move. Then I walked back through the garage door I had left unlatched, slipped upstairs to the guest room, and turned on the old baby monitor we still kept for our daughter's anxious nights. The receiver hissed in my palm. For almost a minute, there was only static. Then Marcus's voice came through, soft and relieved. "Renee, she's gone." I cannot keep doing this anymore. My knees went weak so fast I had to sit on the edge of the guest bed. He thought I had left the house. He did not know the monitor was on. He did not know I was 10 steps above him, listening to every word he had saved for another woman. And he certainly did not know I had been doubting myself for months, calling my own eyes dramatic, calling my own stomach wrong, because after 18 years of marriage I still wanted to believe my husband would not look me in the face and build a second life in the quiet spaces around ours. The strangest part is that the day did not begin like a disaster. It began with coffee. It began with the smell of cinnamon toast in our kitchen, Eden's backpack half open on a chair, and Marcus standing by the sink reading messages with a small smile he tried to hide when I walked in. I was 42 years old enough to know a smile can tell on a person before a lie ever does. But I was also tired. Tired in that deep way wives get when they have been holding together car insurance, dental appointments, college essays, grocery lists, church calendars, and everybody else's feelings. So when Marcus turned his phone face down, I poured my coffee and told myself not to start. Eden came down the stairs wearing a Howard sweatshirt Marcus's cousin had sent her, one earbud in and one out. "Mom, can you sign the permission slip before I forget again?" "Put it by my bag," I said. She kissed my cheek, grabbed a banana, and looked at her father. "You coming to my meet Saturday?" Marcus blinked like he had been pulled from another room. "Of course, baby. Would not miss it." He said it warmly. Eden smiled. I watched him smile back at our daughter, and for 2 seconds I felt ashamed of every suspicion I had been carrying. A man planning to destroy his family would not look at his child like that, I told myself. That was one of the lies I used to keep myself steady. Another was that the reunion had stirred up harmless memories. 3 weeks earlier, Marcus's college class had held a reunion at a banquet room near the lake. I had almost skipped it. I had a stack of substitute teaching forms to finish, and the thought of standing in heels while strangers asked what I did now made my stomach tighten. I used to teach English full-time before Eden's panic attacks got bad in middle school. After that, I took substitute jobs so I could be flexible. It was the right choice for our family. Still, every time someone said, "So are you still just subbing?" I felt something small fold inside me. Marcus wanted me there. "Come on, Savannah," he said that afternoon, leaning against our bedroom door while I chose earrings. "It will be good for us to get out. You look beautiful in that navy dress." He had not said I looked beautiful in months. So I went. The banquet room smelled like lemon chicken, cologne, and those little candles hotels put on round tables to make everything look softer than it is. Marcus became younger the moment we walked in. His shoulders loosened. His laugh got louder. Men clapped him on the back. Women called his name across the room. For a while, I enjoyed watching him be seen. Then Renee Carter arrived. I knew her name before I knew her face. Marcus had mentioned Renee in the clean, casual way husbands mention women they do not want you to ask too much about. They had dated in college. They were serious for a while. Then life happened. She moved to Atlanta. He stayed in Illinois. Years passed. That was the version I knew. The woman who walked into that room did not look like a closed chapter. She wore a red blazer and carried herself like someone who had survived something and expected the world to notice. When she saw Marcus, her whole face opened. "Marcus Tinsley," she said. He laughed before she reached him. They hugged too long. Not long enough for a scene, not long enough for me to say anything without sounding jealous, but long enough for my fingers to tighten around the stem of my glass. Marcus introduced us. "Savannah, this is Renee. Renee, my wife." My wife. 2 words that should have anchored me. Renee took my hand with a warm smile. "I have heard so much about you." "Same here," I said, though it was not true. All evening she found reasons to stand near us. Old stories, old songs, old professors, old jokes that did not include me. Marcus kept looking at her like she had brought a part of him back from storage. On the ride home, the roads were slick from a light rain. Eden was sleeping at her friend Maya's house, so the car felt too quiet. "Renee seems nice," I said. Marcus tapped his thumbs on the steering wheel. "She has had a hard few years, divorce, her mother getting sick, but she's strong," he said, strong with tenderness. I looked out the window at the passing porch lights and tried not to hear it. "You two caught up a lot." "Old friends catch up at reunions," he said. "Do not make it weird." That was the first time he made me feel foolish for noticing. After that night, the house changed in ways a stranger would have missed. Marcus started putting his phone in his pocket when he walked from room to room. He began taking calls in the garage, even when it was cold enough that his breath clouded near the door. He hummed in the shower. He bought a new bottle of cologne and said a client had given it to him, which made no sense, but I let it pass because I was afraid of what might happen if I pulled too hard on the thread. One Thursday evening, I found him in the laundry room with the dryer door open and his phone pressed to his ear. His voice was low. "No, I remember. Of course I remember." When he saw me, he ended the call. "Who was that?" "Keith from work." I nodded at the basket in his hand. "Keith makes you smile like that?" He gave me a tired look. "Savannah, please. I have had a long day." That was the phrase he used whenever he wanted the conversation to end. I let it end. But later, while folding his shirt, I smelled perfume near the collar. Not heavy, not enough to be proof in a courtroom, just a soft floral note that did not belong to me, did not belong to our laundry detergent, and did not belong in the quiet pile of cotton on our bed. I called my best friend, LaToya, from the back porch. Our yard was covered in dry leaves. A squirrel moved along the fence and the neighbor's wind chimes tapped against the night air. I remember those details because my mind was desperate for something ordinary to hold. "Tell me I am being ridiculous," I said. LaToya did not answer right away. She and I had met when Eden and her son were in preschool. She knew the sweet version of Marcus. She also knew the version of me that apologized before asking for anything. "I am not going to call you ridiculous," she said, "but I am going to ask you something. What do you know, and what do you feel?" "I know he is distant." "And what do you feel?" I looked through the kitchen window. Marcus was rinsing a mug, one hand moving slowly under the faucet, while the other checked his phone. "I feel like there is a whole conversation happening in my marriage that I am not invited to." LaToya let out a long breath. "Then do not accuse him from panic. Watch. Ask clear questions. And do not ignore the answer just because it hurts." That advice sounded simple. It was not. The next week became a lesson in small humiliations. Marcus came home late on Tuesday with a story about budget meetings. On Wednesday, he laughed at a text during dinner and told Eden it was a meme from work, but he did not show it to her. On Friday, he said he needed to stop by a vendor dinner, and I saw his dress shoes polished by the front door before lunch. I was not proud of what I did next. While he was in the shower, I looked at the lock screen of his phone. I did not know his passcode. I did not need it. A message preview sat there like it had been placed for me, still thinking about last night. "When can I see you without the crowd?" There was no name on the preview, only a number, but my body knew before my mind allowed it. I put the phone down in the exact same position and walked to the hallway mirror. The woman looking back at me had moisturizer on one cheek and fear in both eyes. I whispered, "You are not crazy." Then I went downstairs and packed Eden's lunch. "If you are listening right now, tell me where you are from or what time it is where you are." I always wonder where people are sitting when they finally stop explaining away the thing that has been hurting them. That Saturday, Eden had her track meet. The bleachers were cold under me. Parents stomped their feet, drank paper cups of coffee, and called out encouragement while kids stretched near the lanes. Eden kept looking toward the parking lot. "Dad said he was coming," she said. "He is probably stuck in traffic." I said it because I wanted it to be true. Marcus arrived 20 minutes late, wearing the same charcoal coat he had worn to the reunion. Renee was not with him. Of course she was not. But when he sat beside me, the same floral perfume drifted off his scarf. Eden ran the 200 that day. She placed third. Marcus cheered loud enough that she smiled and waved, and my heart broke in a new direction because love does not disappear just because trust does. On the ride home, Eden sat in the back seat with her medal in her lap. "Dad, you missed my first race." Marcus looked at her in the mirror. "I know, baby. I am sorry. Something came up." "Work?" He paused half a second too long. "Yes. Work." Eden looked out the window. I saw her reflection in the glass. She was old enough to hear the pause, too young to know what to do with it. That night, after she went upstairs, I asked Marcus to sit with me at the kitchen table. The dishwasher hummed, the counters were clean, the permission slips and grocery coupons were stacked near the fruit bowl, proof of the life I had been managing while he chased whatever made him feel new. "Are you involved with someone else?" He stared at me. "What?" "That is a clear question." "No," he said. Too fast. "Then why are you hiding your phone? Why did you smell like perfume at Eden's meet? Why did you tell me a vendor dinner ran late when the restaurant receipt in your coat pocket said 2 drinks and 1 appetizer at 4:15? His face changed. Not guilt, exactly. Irritation first, then calculation. "You went through my coat?" I checked a receipt after weeks of being lied to. He pushed back from the table. "I cannot do this tonight." "You never can." "Because every conversation becomes an investigation." That sentence hit me harder than I expected. Not because it was fair, but because part of me wondered if he was right. That was how twisted I had become. I was sitting across from my husband with a receipt and perfume on his scarf, and still there was a small voice inside me asking whether I had forced him into secrecy by needing answers. He stood. "I am going to sleep." I stayed at the table long after he left. The house clicked and settled around me. The refrigerator motor kicked on. Upstairs, Eden's music played softly behind her door. I looked toward the hallway closet where the old baby monitor sat in a plastic bin with extension cords and birthday candles. We had bought it when Eden was a baby and kept it because her anxiety sometimes flared at night. Even at 16, she liked knowing she could call out if a panic attack hit and one of us would hear. The next afternoon, while Eden was at tutoring and Marcus was in the yard, I plugged the monitor in. I told myself I was only checking the battery. That was another half-truth. The transmitter still worked. So did the receiver. A little static, but clear enough. I moved it from the den to the hallway, then from the hallway to the living room. I learned which spot caught Marcus's phone calls best. I hated myself for doing it. I also hated that I felt calmer with a plan. The following days pulled me between suspicion and memory. Marcus could still be gentle. He still warmed up my car before an early teaching assignment. He still brought Eden ginger tea when her stomach hurt before a test. One night, he stood behind me while I washed dishes and kissed the top of my head. "We are okay, right?" he asked. I looked at his reflection in the dark kitchen window. "Are we?" He did not answer. On Sunday morning, we went to church together for the first time in weeks. I wore a cream sweater and gold hoops. Marcus wore his navy suit. Eden sat between us, quiet and pretty, tapping her thumb against her program. During the greeting time, a woman from the scholarship committee asked Marcus how the reunion went. "Wonderful," he said. "Saw people I had not seen in years." His face opened again. I knew then that Renee was not just a person. She was a doorway. Through her, Marcus had walked into a version of himself where he had no mortgage, no anxious daughter, no wife asking about doctor's appointments and college forms, no aging parents, no tired mornings. Just music, memory, and the soft lie that life could begin again without wreckage. That afternoon, I went to LaToya's house. She made tea and did not rush me. "You need to decide what truth would be enough," she said. "Enough for what?" "Enough for you to stop negotiating with your own mind." I looked down at my hands. "I do not want Eden hurt." "She is already feeling something," LaToya said gently. "Children do not need details to know when the air in a house changes." That sentence stayed with me. 2 nights later, Eden stood in my doorway with her blanket around her shoulders like she was little again. "Mom? Come in, baby." She sat on the edge of my bed. "Are you and Dad getting divorced?" The word made my throat close. "Why would you ask that?" She shrugged, trying to look casual and failing. "He is different. You are different. And when I walk into a room, both of you start acting normal, which is how I know it is not normal." I reached for her hand. "Your father and I are having a hard season, but you are not responsible for it." "Is there someone else?" I wanted to lie. I wanted to protect her with both hands and every soft word I had. Instead, I said, "I do not have all the truth yet. When I do, I will not make you carry adult pain, but I also will not pretend everything is fine if it is not." She cried then, not loud, just tears slipping down her cheeks while I held her. After she went back to her room, I sat awake until almost 2 in the morning. Marcus slept beside me, breathing evenly. I watched the outline of his shoulder under the blanket and remembered the first year of our marriage, when we lived in a little apartment with bad heat and laughed because we could see our breath in the kitchen. I remembered him rocking Eden when she had colic. I remembered him crying quietly after my mother died, not because he knew what to say, but because he hurt seeing me hurt. That man had been real. So was the man hiding his phone. Both truths sat in the same bed. Friday gave me the chance I had both feared and planned for. Eden was going to Maya's for a sleepover after track practice. Marcus texted that he would be home by 6. I made dinner because my hands needed work. Turkey meatloaf, roasted sweet potatoes, green beans with garlic. The kitchen filled with warm, plain smells that belonged to our family. Before Marcus got home, I placed the baby monitor transmitter behind a stack of magazines on the living room shelf. It was not visible unless someone looked for it. Then I put the receiver in the guest room drawer and left the drawer open just a crack. I told myself I was giving him one more chance. Maybe we would talk. Maybe he would confess. Maybe I could still wake from this into a marriage that was wounded but honest. Marcus came in just after 6, loosened his tie, and kissed my cheek. "Smells good. Sit down with me." He heard something in my voice because he looked toward the stairs. "Where is Eden?" "At Maya's." "Good," he said softly. That one word chilled me. We ate at the table. He complimented the food. I asked about work. He gave me the kind of answer a person gives when they want to sound present while saving their real energy for later. I set down my fork. "I am lonely in this marriage, Marcus." He rubbed his forehead. "Savannah, please." "No, not please. Listen. I have spent months making room for your stress. I have explained your distance to Eden. I have swallowed my questions because I did not want to become suspicious and bitter, but I am asking you one more time. Is there something going on with Renee?" He stood so fast his chair legs scraped the floor. "I am not doing this. You are doing it. You just do not want to do it with me." His face hardened. "Maybe because every time I come home all I feel is judged. You think being a good wife means keeping the house running, but when was the last time you really saw me?" The cruelty of that stopped me. Not because I had never failed him. I had. Marriage has corners where both people collect dust, but he was using my exhaustion as a ladder out of accountability. "I saw you," I said. I saw you tired. I saw you proud. I saw you scared when your blood pressure got high. I saw you sitting in hospital parking lots with your father. I saw all of it. You saw tasks. And Renee sees what? He looked away. There it was. Not a confession, but a door opening. I pushed my chair back. I need air. Do not follow me. He did not move when I grabbed my purse. That hurt too. I slammed the door because I wanted the sound to cover the shaking in my breath. I drove out. I circled back. I stepped through the garage like a thief in my own home. The kitchen lights spilled down the hallway. Marcus was pacing in the living room, phone already in his hand. By the time I reached the guest room and turned on the receiver, the call had begun. Static cracked. Then came his voice. "Renee, she's gone. I cannot keep doing this anymore." I sat down hard. He laughed once, but it had no joy in it. No, she does not know. She suspects, but she does not know. She has been checked out for years anyway. Everything is Eden, bills, school, house, schedule. I feel like a visitor in my own life. My hand went to my mouth. I had prepared myself for desire. I had prepared myself for guilt. I had not prepared myself to hear him rewrite my labor as abandonment. Renee's voice came through faintly because he must have put her on speaker. "I do not want to be your escape, Marcus. You are not. You make me remember who I was." "And Savannah?" There was a pause. The receiver hissed between us like breath. "Savannah will be hurt," he said. "But maybe she will be relieved too. We have been pretending for a long time." I stared at the guest room rug. Eden had spilled nail polish on it 2 years earlier, a tiny purple stain near the bed. I had never managed to get it out. For some reason, that stain broke me more than the sentence did. Our real life had marks in it. Imperfect, stubborn, ordinary marks. And he was downstairs describing it like a costume he could take off. Renee said, "I waited a long time to feel this way again." Marcus lowered his voice. "Me too. Last night meant something. I know we said we would be careful, but I do not want careful anymore." Last night. The words settled in my stomach like ice. So it was not only messages. Not only emotional hunger, not only old memories and charged hugs near hotel candles. He kept talking. He talked about finding an apartment. He talked about waiting until Eden's winter break. He talked about how our daughter was almost grown, as if 16 were a door she had already walked through. He talked about me like I was an obstacle he still respected enough to move gently. That almost made it worse. When the call ended, I did not move right away. The baby monitor sat warm in my hand. Downstairs, I heard Marcus open the refrigerator. A bottle cap clicked against the counter. The television came on, low and meaningless. I wiped my face with both palms and stood. There are moments when anger does not arrive hot. Mine came cold. It moved through me like clean water. I walked downstairs. Marcus was in the living room with a beer in one hand, looking at sports highlights without seeing them. When he saw me in the doorway, his face emptied. "Savannah?" "I heard you." He set the bottle down. "I thought you left." "That was the point." His eyes moved toward the shelf. "What did you do?" "I used the baby monitor." For a second, he looked offended. That was the ugliest second of all. "You recorded me?" "I listened," I said. "There is a difference. And do not stand in our living room and talk to me about privacy after planning to leave me on our daughter's winter break." He closed his eyes. "It was not supposed to happen like this." "No," I said. "It was supposed to happen while I kept cooking dinner and signing forms and explaining your absence to Eden." He flinched at her name. "Do not bring her into this." "You already did. You said she was almost grown." The room went quiet. The walls were covered with proof that she was not grown. Track photos, honor roll certificates, a framed picture of her at 12 with braces and a shy smile. A drawing she had made for Father's Day still tucked near the bookshelf because Marcus had refused to throw it away. "I was overwhelmed," he said. "That may be true. I felt invisible. That may be true too." He looked hopeful for half a breath. I did not give him more than that. But you made me invisible so Renee could make you feel seen. His shoulders dropped. I love you. I almost laughed, but it would have come out like a sob. You may, but love is not only what you feel when you are afraid of consequences. He sat on the couch and put his head in his hands. I stayed standing. If I sat, I thought I might fold. For the next hour, the truth came in pieces. He admitted he and Renee had been texting since the reunion. He admitted they had met for coffee twice and dinner once before anything physical happened. He admitted the night before, when he told me he was at a vendor event, he had been at Renee's apartment. He did not admit everything easily. I had to ask simple questions and wait through his silence. Did you sleep with her? He looked at the floor. Yes. How many times? Savannah. How many? Once. I did not know whether I believed that. Did you tell her you were leaving me? I said I was thinking about it. No. I heard you talk about an apartment. His mouth tightened. I was confused. You were specific. That was when he cried. I wish I could say his tears meant nothing to me. They did. I had loved that man for nearly half my life. His pain still reached for the softest part of me. But the baby monitor was on the table between us now, its green light steady, and it kept me from floating away into pity. The old me would have comforted him before I finished hearing myself. That night I did not. I told him to pack a bag. He stared at me. Where am I supposed to go? A hotel. Your brother's. I do not care tonight. Savannah, we should not make big decisions while we are emotional. You made plenty while you were excited. He went upstairs. I stood in the kitchen while he moved around our bedroom. Drawers opened, closet doors slid, a zipper rasped. Ordinary sounds can become brutal when they belong to the end of something. When he came down with a duffel bag, he looked older. Can I say goodbye to Eden tomorrow? We will decide what to tell her together, and we will not lie more than we have to. He nodded. At the front door, he turned back. I am sorry. I know. That is all? I held the baby monitor in one hand. That is all I have tonight. When the door closed, the house did not feel peaceful. It felt stunned. I walked from room to room turning off lights. The dinner dishes were still in the sink. His beer bottle left a wet ring on the coffee table. My navy cardigan was on the back of a chair. Everything looked normal if you did not know where to look. I slept on the couch for maybe 2 hours. At dawn, I called LaToya. She answered on the second ring. I know, she said before I could speak, because friendship sometimes hears the thing in your breathing. I told her the facts, not all the feelings. The feelings were too large and too tangled. She listened, then said she was coming over with coffee. Do not call him first, she said. Do not call Renee. Do not make a speech you will regret. Drink water. Write down what he admitted while it is fresh. I feel foolish. You are not foolish. You are injured. That helped more than any dramatic line could have. By noon, I had written a list in a spiral notebook. Dates I knew, receipts I had seen, what Marcus had admitted, what I heard through the monitor. I did not write it to punish him. I wrote it because my mind had already started trying to soften things so I could survive them. Pain edits memory. Paper does not. When Eden came home from Maya's house, she knew before I said anything. She stood in the kitchen doorway with her overnight bag still on her shoulder. Where is Dad? I put down the mug I had been holding. He is at a hotel. Her face went pale. Because of the hard season? I pulled out a chair. Come sit with me. I told her only what she needed to know. Marcus had broken trust in our marriage. We were going to take space. We both loved her. None of it was her fault. She listened without crying at first. Then she said, Was it Renee? I could not hide my reaction fast enough. Her mouth trembled. I saw her name on Dad's phone, and I heard him say it in the garage once. That was the moment I understood how expensive my silence had been. I had tried to protect Eden from the truth, but in the gaps, she had been building her own. I am sorry, I said. Why are you sorry? He did it. Because mothers apologize for storms they did not make. I did not say that. I said, I am sorry you had to wonder alone. She came around the table and hugged me. She was almost as tall as I was, but for that minute she felt like the little girl who used to call for me through that same baby monitor. Marcus came by the next afternoon. He looked exhausted. He brought flowers, which made me angry in a tired way. Flowers were for missed anniversaries, not for planning an exit while your wife sat upstairs listening. Eden refused to come down at first. When she did, she stood beside me with her arms crossed. "Are you leaving us?" she asked him. Marcus looked at me as if I might rescue him. I did not. "I do not want to leave you," he said. Eden's eyes filled. "That is not what I asked." He swallowed. "I made terrible choices. Your mother and I are figuring out what happens next." "Did you choose her because Mom was boring?" The question cut through the room. Marcus cried then. Eden did too. I wanted to cover her ears, cover her heart, cover every sharp edge in the world. But some truths cannot be padded enough. "No," he said. "No, baby. Your mother was not boring. I was selfish. I wanted to feel young and important, and I lied to myself about what that meant." It was the first honest thing he had said without being cornered. It did not fix anything, but Eden heard it. After he left, she went upstairs and shut her door. I stood outside it for a minute, listening. Not through a monitor this time. Just as a mother, giving privacy and staying close enough to be found. The next 2 weeks were all practical pain. Marcus stayed at an extended stay hotel near his office. We opened a shared calendar for Eden's meets, therapy appointments, and school events. I called a family attorney for a consultation, not because I was ready to file, but because I was done being uninformed. I met with our pastor once and a counselor twice. The counselor's office had a blue chair that swallowed me whole, and a box of tissues on the table, as if grief were expected to arrive prepared. Marcus ended things with Renee, or said he did. I did not celebrate. Renee sent me one message through social media. "I am sorry. I believed things were over between you two." I stared at that sentence for a long time. Then I deleted it. Maybe Marcus had made our marriage sound dead. Maybe she had heard what she wanted. Maybe both were true. I did not have enough spare strength to untangle her conscience from his choices. My work became steadier. The school called me for a long-term substitute position in English after a teacher went on medical leave. I almost said no because my life felt too messy. Then I said yes because standing in front of a classroom gave me a kind of spine I had forgotten. Teenagers can smell fake from across the room. They made me speak plainly. They made me laugh when I did not expect to. One afternoon I gave them an assignment about point of view. "The person telling the story controls what we notice," I said. Then I had to turn toward the board because the sentence found me. For years, I had let Marcus's tiredness become the narrator of our marriage. If he was distant, he was stressed. If he was sharp, he was under pressure. If I was lonely, I was too sensitive. His version had been loud because mine had been polite. That began to change. Eden and I made small rituals. Tuesday soup nights, Thursday walks when the weather allowed, Sunday laundry with music playing too loud. She started sitting at the kitchen island while I graded papers, telling me pieces of her day in the careful way teenagers do when they want comfort, but not questions. Some evenings she was angry at Marcus. Other evenings she missed him so much she got quiet and mean with me because I was the parent in front of her. I learned not to take every sharp word personally. Healing did not make us graceful. It made us honest. Marcus asked for marriage counseling. I agreed to 3 sessions, not as a promise, but as a place to speak with a witness. In the first session, he said he had felt unnecessary at home. The counselor asked, "Did you tell Savannah that before you turned elsewhere?" He looked down. "Not clearly." "Did you give her a chance to know you were in that much pain?" "No." Then the counselor turned to me. "And did you know you were lonely before the affair?" I wanted to say no. I wanted to be the clean, injured party with no complicated rooms inside me, but I was tired of dishonesty, even my own. "Yes," I said. I knew. I just thought if I worked harder, the loneliness would count less. Marcus cried again. This time I did not harden, but I did not move toward him either. There is a middle place after betrayal that nobody talks about enough. You can feel compassion and still keep a boundary. You can remember good years and still refuse to be negotiated back into silence. By December, Marcus had moved into a small apartment 10 minutes away. Eden visited him on Wednesdays and every other weekend. The first time she packed a bag to go, she stood in the hallway staring at her sneakers. "This is weird." "I know." "Are you okay when I am gone?" I smiled because she should not have been worrying about me, but I also knew she needed a real answer. "I miss you. I also use the quiet to take care of myself." "Like what?" "Tea, bad television, grading essays, sometimes crying in an ugly way." She laughed, and the sound eased something in both of us. After she left, I walked into the guest room and saw the baby monitor on the dresser. I had put it there after the confrontation because I did not know where else to place it. For weeks, I could barely look at it. That small white receiver had become the object that split my life into before and after. I picked it up. The plastic was scratched. The volume button stuck a little. There was a faded sticker on the back from when Eden was 6 and covered everything with stars. I thought about throwing it away. Instead, I put it in the hall closet. Not hidden, not displayed, just stored. Some things do not need to be worshipped or destroyed. Some things only need to stop having power over the room. Christmas came with careful arrangements. Marcus came over in the morning so Eden could open gifts with both parents. He brought cinnamon rolls from the bakery she liked. I made coffee. For 2 hours we behaved kindly. Not fake, kind. There is a difference. Eden opened a sketchbook from me and running shoes from Marcus. She smiled with her whole face for the first time in weeks. After she went upstairs to call Maya, Marcus helped me carry mugs to the sink. "I miss home," he said. I rinsed a spoon. "I know." "Do you miss me?" I turned off the water. The honest answer was not simple. I miss who I thought we were. I miss parts of you. I miss having someone else know how Eden likes her oatmeal and which floorboard creaks outside our room. But I do not miss wondering where my husband really is. He nodded slowly. "I am trying to become someone you could trust again." "Good," I said. "Do that whether I come back or not." He left after lunch. I did not collapse when the door closed. That felt like progress. In January, Renee moved to another firm in another city. I heard it from LaToya, who heard it from somebody who had gone to the reunion planning meetings. The news passed through me with less force than I expected. I had spent so many nights picturing Renee as the reason my life cracked. But she was not the foundation. She was the weight Marcus chose to place on a weak spot. That understanding mattered. It kept me from building my recovery around hating a woman who did not owe me vows. Marcus owed me vows. Marcus broke them. My decision did not come in one dramatic scene. It came in pieces. It came when I slept 6 hours without waking to check my phone. It came when Eden showed me a college brochure and I felt excitement before fear. It came when I signed a contract to finish the school year full-time and realized I had built a day that did not orbit Marcus's moods. It came when he apologized without asking what it changed. One evening in early spring, Marcus and I met at a quiet cafe after counseling. Rain streaked the window. "I know I keep asking for another chance," he said. "I also know asking may be selfish." I wrapped both hands around my mug. "I am not ready to rebuild the marriage." His face tightened, but he stayed still. "Do you think you ever will be?" "I do not know." That was the kindest truth I had. We agreed to continue co-parenting, continue counseling separately, and stop using Eden's schedule as an excuse to keep old conversations alive. It was not a movie ending. There was no courthouse victory, no public humiliation, no scene where Renee begged and Marcus fell apart. There was paperwork. There were bank accounts to review. There were weekends to divide. There was a daughter who needed both parents to act older than their pain. There was me, learning to live in a house where silence no longer meant dread. By May, the yard had turned green again. Eden's track season ended with a meet on a bright Saturday morning. Marcus came early this time. He sat 2 rows behind me on the bleachers, not because we were enemies, but because space was part of the truth now. When Eden ran, we both stood and cheered. She looked over, saw us both there, and smiled. Not the old smile, not the little girl smile from framed photos. A new one, careful, but real. After the meet, Marcus asked if we wanted lunch. Eden looked at me. I looked at her. Maybe another day, I said. Marcus accepted it. That acceptance told me more than another apology would have. Later, Eden and I stopped for burgers and fries. She stole pickles from my plate and told me she was thinking about applying to schools farther from home. My first instinct was fear. My second was pride. Then we will look at them, I said. That night, after Eden went to bed, I opened the hall closet to put away fresh towels. The baby monitor sat on the shelf beside a box of old photos. I took it down, removed the batteries, and placed it in the donation bag. Not because I wanted to forget, because I did not need it to remind me anymore. The truth had already done its painful work. People ask sometimes whether I regret turning it on. I do not. I regret needing it. I regret the months I spent letting uncertainty eat the edges of my life. But I do not regret hearing the truth in a room where no one could dress it up for me. The baby monitor did not end my marriage. Marcus's choices did that. The monitor only handed me the sound of what was already happening. I am still not sure what our final chapter will be. Maybe divorce. Maybe a different kind of peace. Maybe years from now I will look back and understand this season better than I do today. But I know this. I no longer confuse quiet with safety. I no longer call my instincts dramatic just because someone else finds them inconvenient. And when my daughter asks me if I am okay, I do not perform happiness. I tell her the truth she can carry. I am healing. That is enough for now. If you have ever had to trust a small piece of proof over 1,000 excuses, tell me what finally helped you believe yourself. Someone else may be sitting in a quiet house tonight, listening to static, and needing permission to choose the truth.